Hello and welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and today we are talking to two special guests. I'm really excited to introduce you to my friends, Tina Sayers and Jonah, I have to say this right, Herzog. No, Herzog. Well, we could say it German, Herzog. Anyway, Tina and Jonah are coming to us today to explain all about Sing Democracy 250, a really awesome project that is coming up. It's the third project of this, of these founders of this organization. I don't need to ruin it. I just want you to listen because I think sometimes we forget the power of singing together. And this is one of those episodes where you are so totally reminded. And here's the cool part. This is one of quite a few episodes. In this episode, we're learning about what is Sing Democracy 250 and how you can get involved. But don't worry, we'll be coming back and catching up with our friends at Sing Democracy 250 over the next year or two as they are working on this project. I can't wait to hear what you think. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Perform International, and that's enough announcements. Give it a listen, and I can't wait to hear what you think. Sing Democracy 250 with our friends Tina and Jonah. Today on the Music Ed Matters podcast, I am so excited to hear all about this project. We're learning about Sing Democracy 250, and I have two new awesome friends on here, Tina Sayers and Jonah Herzog. Hi, friends.
Hi.
Hello.
This is so much fun. I cannot wait to hear more about what y'all are doing. Let's start with Tina. Tina, tell us who you are, where you are, all the cool things.
Well, my name is Tina Sayers, and I live in St. Louis, Missouri. But I have a background from being all over the United States. And in my most recent incarnation, I taught voice at the university level for 20 years. I've had a background in choral singing and directing as well. And now I work as a music consultant for arts people to just sort of put together programs to collaborate with each other on, maybe they need help with either an aspect of a project, or they need help getting my contacts and collaborators involved, that sort of thing. So that is how I got involved in this project. And I'm just really excited. I'm the program director for the 50 states portion of the Sing Democracy 250 program, which we will get into more detail later, but that's me.
I can't wait. Before I pop over to Jonah, I want to ask a question.
Sure.
I love that you have such a heart for collaboration. I think that is just such a huge aspect of what we do in the field of music in general. But how did you give us a little of the background for listeners who are listening, who are deciding on their career fields or are looking for inspiration? How did you get to teaching university voice, and how do you have the experience with which to serve as a consultant? What's your background before that?
Right. So teaching university voice was always my dream job. And, but I didn't get my doctorate because, I'm a graduate of college in 94. And at that time you could still teach at a university without having to pursue a doctorate degree. And as long as you weren't doing a program that had doctoral candidates. So, long story short, I taught at a couple different schools. I had a private studio for a long time. And sort of with COVID and with a lot of other things that were going on in the environment and in my personal life, I just needed a change. And so I stopped teaching at a university and just sort of thought, what's next? What am I going to do next? And I thought about all of the things that I really care about and that I feel like I'm good at, and what I felt really called and led to do, wanting to make a difference. And so I think collaborating in general was always my favorite part of my job. I loved, when I lived in San Diego, I taught at a university there, and I started a program where I invited professional singers and coaches to come from all over the country and work with my students. And that was my highlight of every year, was what's our theme going to be? Who are we going to invite? How are we going to build a program around that idea? And all of that collaborating and creativity is what really lit my fire. And in 2010, I started the Community Center for the Arts in San Diego, which is a nonprofit program, because the schools in San Diego, the public schools, no longer have arts funding or PE or, any
Mm-hmm.
kind of either visual arts or dramatic arts or musical arts. So we were trying to bridge a gap in that community by providing a place for them to have private lessons, to have a choir, to have a dance class, to have a theater group. So we started that in 2010, and I was the executive director and artistic director of that until we moved to St. Louis in 2016. So with all of that kind of background, and then also I did teach some choirs at the universities where I worked, and also church choir. You know how it is. You don't just do one. And I still
Correct.
sing, right? I still sing with choirs. I've sung with musical theater and opera groups. And so it just sort of felt like, of all of that, the one thread that pulled all that together was this collaboration and working to promote the arts. So yeah, so that's kind of where my focus is now. And I've just been really fortunate that I've met some people that I've had a good experience working with, and usually it's word of mouth that leads one project into another.
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah, I think the advice I would give to anyone listening who's trying to, figure out what their path is to really just pay attention to what lights your fire and try to find a way to do that. And also don't ever burn a bridge.
Yeah, that's just as important as asking the question of what do I feel called to do. I love that you paused to do that and you chose a path less traveled, less traditional. So thank you for sharing your story with
Well,
us.
thanks for asking.
Oh, it was so exciting. Okay, Jonah, I'm dying to hear how you ended up where you are.
Yeah, good question. So I'm originally from Champaign, Illinois, a couple hours south of Chicago. And I came to St. Olaf College for music. I've kind of bled music from the start, and that's been my thing, although I've really jumped ship from the choral world to the orchestral world to composition to conducting to theory. I'm definitely still a music theory geek. But I came to St. Olaf thinking trombone was going to be my primary instrument, and then there are so many choirs there. They keep always begging you to join one of the choirs, and I got hooked. I sang in the St. Olaf choir for a couple years, and when I graduated, I got kind of pulled in two or three different directions, to the point where I moved to Minneapolis, and I'm in a couple groups right now. I'm in Vocal Essence, which is a professional group that
Yes,
sings in the Twin Cities. We'll be performing with the Lakes Area Music Festival this weekend, doing Beethoven's Ninth and a couple other pieces.
that's amazing.
So super exciting stuff. I also still stay true to my orchestral roots. I work part-time for Minnesota Orchestra up here. So kind of a Swiss Army knife. I think that's the phrase I use and sometimes overuse when it comes to my relationship with music. But I do like to have every tool I can in that regards, artistically and administratively. So I how I got here really is I was a member, I was asked by Mark Stover, who used to be the director of the Together in Hope choir, which is sort of the anchor choir of our Sing Democracy 250 project, and we can talk a little bit more about that in a second. But
Hmm.
I was asked to, they always need tenors, right? So that
Isn't
I
that the
got swept up into
truth?
that. Um, and I was a part of their most recent project, the second of the ones they've done, in which we went to Trondheim, Norway, for a big music festival there. So I was in the choir for that, and that was my first sort of acquaintance with Garia and Celia, who are the two founders of the project. And essentially, they came to me last year, talking about their new project that they were putting together, which is this that we are on this show for, and asking, if I would like to be a team member for various other operations that need being put together. So,
Yeah, I love this.
and I will still be a
It's
member of the choir, but yes,
that I was gonna say, that was my next question. Are you gonna sing? But it's so cool because it's almost like Jonah, you're Swiss Armying like Tina did at the beginning of your career. And it's kind of
Mhm.
cool to see the two
yeah,
like melding together and what it can do to bring
yeah,
different people together. That's so awesome.
yeah.
And
Tina and I have struck a number of commonalities. So,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, it's been a really fun process, especially because we straddle generations. And so,
yeah,
I have some insights that he may not have, and he definitely has insights that I don't have. And the technology piece always comes easier to younger people. So I end up leaning on him a lot for support with that. And he just has really good instincts, and
yeah.
he's just a wonderful colleague. So it's been a fun collaboration.
Well, and Tina has the actual experience to draw off of. So, it's a lot of give and take.
That's so fun. It
Thank you.
sounds like you guys are having fun working on this project, and it makes total sense how you both got onto the table. So let's define it. What is Sing Democracy 250? Tell us about the founders. What do we need to know?
Yeah,
I think it's hard to talk about the project without talking about the history of the founders and what they've done in the past. Um, to just give a context of how and why this baby was born. So in general, Celia Ellingson and her husband Gary Aamodt, they are sort of spending their retirement dedicated to creating music with a purpose. They have a love for choral music, and they they just one day thought to themselves, you know, the Reformation anniversary is coming up. Somebody needs to write a piece of music to commemorate the 500th anniversary of the Reformation. And long story short, one day they realized it maybe we should do that. So they commissioned a new work for choir and orchestra. And I don't even know how this exactly happened, but lo and behold, they got an invitation from the Vatican to come perform it.
Whoa.
And so, right. And so, but they didn't have a choir. So they decided to put together this professional choir in Minneapolis called the Together in Hope Chorus. And they learned the music and took a trip to Rome and performed the piece at the Vatican.
yeah,
And so that was such a wonderful and affirming experience for them that they kind of got the bug. And that led to what are we going to do next? So their second project, I'm going to let Jonah describe because he was a
yeah.
part of that one.
Yeah, and for more context on the first one too,
Sure.
if you're wondering why it's a Reformation anniversary project that was performed at the Vatican, the whole premise of it was Christian reconciliation
Mm.
between Catholics and Lutherans and Protestants and other denominations. So yeah, it was fantastic, and it was performed, I think, on the anniversary of the Reformation in 2018.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the second project they came up with was it was originally going to be a 2020 thing.
Mm.
So that quite obviously didn't happen in 2020, but essentially the project was focused on refugees and immigrants,
Hmm.
done in partnership with USA for UNHCR, which is a United Nations Refugee Agency, and Olavsfest, which is the annual festival of many things Norwegian up in Trondheim, Norway. So that was the original invitation from Olavsfest that got the wheels turning, and they partnered with composer Kim Andre Arneson, who was the composer for the mass that they performed in Rome as well. So he wrote this 16 movement work titled The Stranger, that I was lucky enough to be a part of when we performed that first in Norway, and then actually we had a premiere back in St. Paul at the Ordway Center for the Performing Arts, in which half the audience were invited immigrants and refugees.
Oh,
So it was a very, very powerful experience, strong music, and just such great community building.
hmm.
Exactly what you'd want out of a music with a purpose kind of organization. So,
And
um,
when I was invited to join in on this project, they sent me a video that's on YouTube of the premiere performance in Norway. And, being in the music world, sometimes it takes a lot after a while to be impressed, or to be moved, or to get that goosebumpy feeling when you hear a piece of music. But I will tell you that I was blown away when I watched that. It's about an hour long, and the hour flew by, and I was so moved. The music was beautiful. The message was on point. And you could just tell that the audience there was so engaged with everything they were saying and singing. It was a very, very successful performance and program.
Yes.
So yeah, that piece is called The Stranger, if anyone wants to look it up, performed by the Together in Hope chorus. And yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So
And then, yeah, I'll let you
that
go.
choir is still together. So Together in Hope, you said, will be like the center choir of Sing Democracy. But that was project 2.
That was project 2. And so this is project 3.
Okay.
So here comes, the threat of democracy in our country being in question, and the upcoming election. But bigger than that, in the context of the fact that 2026 is our nation's 250th birthday. The next thought that came to their mind, in the culmination of all those different thoughts, is that we need to do something to commemorate this birthday and to rejuvenate democracy in America. And so with that in mind, they decided that their next project would be Sing Democracy 250, as in the 250th birthday of America.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how it got started.
This is so cool. So like the founders are these big dreamers that see the power of singing together and of community building, and they find really important, I would say, socially important events. And
Very
then
much so.
they get people to commission. And I was totally snooping on your website, and I'm a huge fan of Dr. Brandon Boyd. We've done quite a few gigs together.
Yes.
Yes.
Love Dr. Boyd.
That's
Good.
amazing. Yes, no, he's fabulous. And that leads us right into like the commissioned composers. We found 2 fantastic composers who are emerging artists in the country and are already just garnering such a name for themselves. Brandon Boyd is one of them. So Sing Democracy 250, essentially what we are providing is an opportunity for choirs across the country to perform the program that we've commissioned. And that I'll get into in a second. But about the commissioned composers, one of them is Brandon Boyd, who has written a piece based on Langston Hughes' poem "Let America Be America." And
Again.
yes, again, correct. The second piece is titled "Us," and it was composed by composer Michael Busowitz-Quorum. Apologies if I mispronounce her last name. Michael is out in New York, I think. Brandon's in Missouri.
I think that's right.
And the second piece is based on Richard Haas's book, The Bill of Obligations, Richard Haas is a good sort of benchmark for where this project started. He's the he's the former I think head of the National Council for Foreign Relations. And when asked about what's the greatest threat to the United States this day and age, his response was, our greatest threat is from within. That it's not China, it's not Iran, it doesn't come from foreign powers, it comes from our own people, and the growing political unrest in our country and threats and erosion of American democracy. So that's where this started. His book is a really fantastic resource that we really, really recommend people check out. And the whole premise of it is that we have the Bill of Rights, right? We have 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution that enshrine very basic freedoms. But Richard Haas argues that this is the Bill of Obligations, and that Americans, we have our rights, we have our freedoms, but what obligations do we have as citizens to uphold the values of society today? So.
And Michael wrote a piece on that, wrote a
Mhm.
piece based on that.
Right.
Okay.
So the book has these 10 obligations that, as Richard Haas describes them, which are things, in that are very simple. For instance, learning your civics and staying informed. Things that just every American, because of the rights we enjoy, sort of has the onus upon us to learn and follow through on those things that make us good citizens. And so one thing I do want to make clear is that even though it's hard sometimes for us to divide democracy and politics, this
Mm.
really is about democracy. And, one thing that we want to make very clear is that this is not a partisan project. This is very much the idea that, in fact, one of the tenets in Haas's book is that we all do need to remember and relearn how to listen, how to negotiate, how to collaborate. And, what better theme for a collaborative project than reminding ourselves that we need to listen to each other and share and work together to ensure that we don't lose our freedoms and we don't lose what makes America such a special place, and not just a place, but an idea and an ideal.
Mm.
So
So this is so cool. Okay, so not only are the people that are involved in the project getting to work with two brand new, never before performed commissions, they're getting to learn their obligations or relearn democracy in a bipartisan, not political way, just why and what do we need to know as Americans. Where are the singers coming from and what all is involved in that aspect?
well,
Glad you asked.
the Together in Hope chorus is really a project based chorus. So they do projects on an as needed basis. So they come together when something like this is happening with Celia and Gary. However, so they will be doing I'm going to let Jonah talk about this. They're going to be doing
Yeah.
the premiere concerts. You described that. That's one part of
So,
this.
right. I mean, there are essentially three arms of the project, if you can refer to it that way. One is the music, which we talked about, and the associated texts with the music, both of which are very important. One of which is the Together in Hope choir will serve as an anchor choir for the project, and that is still evolving. There may be collaborations with other ensembles here and there, but the idea will be there will be four large signature concerts, is what we'll be calling them, in the lead up to that big 250th anniversary. So, one of which in Philadelphia, one in New York. The idea was one here in Minneapolis, where I'm at, and a fourth happening sometime around the big 250th anniversary in Washington, D.C. So that's that part of it. And I can let Tina talk about the third
Yeah, the
branch
third
of
arm.
we got executive, legislative,
Yeah, that's
judicial.
right.
Yeah.
We have our
You
three
just mirroring
branches.
democracy. We're just
Yeah,
mirroring it
right.
over here. We're not just learning, we're mirroring.
That's right. That's right. You learn by doing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the third part is that we would like to have performances of these two new works by choirs, any choir that's high school age or above, in the year 2026. So in all 50 states, we want as many performances as possible of this new music. And the program basically would consist of the Us by Michael Buzovic-Quorm and Redeem the Dream, as well as the national anthem and Lift Every Voice and Sing. So those four pieces would make up the entire program. Individual choirs would be free to add other songs to that program that they would like to. But what we are asking is that choirs take up this project as part of a national movement. I I kind of liken it to Hands Across America, which I know I'm dating myself when I say this, but I believe I was in middle school when we did Hands Across America, and it was a movement that spanned the entire United States. And so in that nationwide effort to come together and take a stand on something, that's what reminds me of this project, because we would like it to be a nationwide effort to expose um, expose the public to this music, but also, we know as singers that when you're singing something, you take it in a whole different way, and it adds a
Hmm.
whole different layer of meaning and intention. And so our underlying purpose for all of this is to engage singers and audiences, educate them about America's history, and equip them with knowledge of how they can participate as citizens, so that we can all work together to renew our democracy. So, so with that in mind, if you have a high school choir, if you have a college choir, if you have a community choir, if you have a church choir, we would love to see you committing to performing this music basically between March 1st and December 31st of the year 2026. And if you commit to doing that performance, we will give you the music scores for free.
What?
It's
Exactly.
and the other thing we didn't reiterate, this is about an hour, maybe a little bit more than that of music. So it is a significant
Wow.
it's a significant chunk of music. But
And the
it
other thing
is
about it is that it's going to be composed for both orchestral arrangement, probably a chamber orchestra, not a large orchestra, but there will be a piano and percussion reduction score. So if it's too, restrictive to try to
Hmm.
find a chamber orchestra in your community or with your budget, there is an opportunity to do it with the piano and percussion instead.
That just blows my mind that it's completely free.
Yes.
yeah.
There's a small tiny asterisk at the bottom that says, depending on how many people sign up for
Yeah.
this, we may have to limit the number depending on how many resources we have.
Right.
But we do have some grant money that we've been awarded to help with this, and we are accepting private donations as well. If everybody in America gave $25 or even $2.50 in celebration of the
A
250,
dime for each year.
that's
Yeah.
right, a dime for each year that we've had a country, right? Then we would be able to the more money we get, the more people have the opportunity to do this for free. And yeah, and it's something also that it's this music will not age out. It's not specific to the 250th anniversary of America. That's just the occasion of when we're
Yes.
celebrating the launch of it. So
Yeah.
That's so
I
cool.
don't envy Michael's composition process having to fit
no,
quotes from American figures from 250 years of history into that piece.
Wow.
right,
So
right.
yeah,
That's so cool. How are
everyone
you
from
like do they just like how does someone sign up? Like you just go on the website and say, "Hey, I'm interested. I'm going to sing it on this date."
That's a really good question. We are in the process, and just so you
Mhm.
know, this is a somewhat moving target in that we are still in discussions with other collaborators and other entities. So plans are still firming up to give you
Hmm.
an exact date. But I can tell you that winter and spring of 2025 is when we will have an application available via
Yes.
our website.
Hmm.
So basically, we just need to gather your basic information to know that you're a legit choir, that you have, what your vision is for your performance, what you plan to do, where you plan to do it. You have a venue, you have a conductor, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And once you fill out this very simple application, we will basically send you the scores as soon as we're ready to.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
so
I mean, we just want
cool.
to know what the Sing Democracy event you are creating is. It could be different in Wyoming versus a choir in San Francisco or New
Hmm.
York or Chicago or any other
How cool.
place.
It's
And I
like
know,
everyone coming together to sing, but it's all going to take its
right.
own flair and its own direction and
Yes.
its own
Yes.
staging.
Like how democratic is that, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Talk about renewing some ways of looking at that.
and
Yeah.
we and we also really want to encourage local communities to use their flair, use their community flavor. If I've said, if you live, um, if you're a rural community, and maybe you're a community that loves country music, throw in some country music in your program. That would be fantastic. If you're a gospel community, throw in some gospel music. We want this to reflect all of the different cultures and all of the different just nuances in
Yeah.
American culture. So yeah, the sky's the limit with what people want to put together.
I will say one thing, going back to your question, about what can people do to join this whole national movement. Go to our website, singdemocracy250.org. It's just all lowercase, the
I'll put it
full
in the
words.
episode
Yeah.
notes too.
Thank
Um,
you.
Go to our website, sign up for our newsletter. That will tell you everything that's going on with the program, some updates on uh, how you can apply, how you can be a part of this, but also how you can spread the word too. We This will not work unless everyone is both instrumental in caring about performing it, but also caring about passing on the word, such that we really want to get a choir in all of those 50 states.
That'd be so cool.
I really want to get 100 choirs in every state.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that too.
You know, and
aim for the sky.
that's right. And
Mhm.
we don't know if this is going to be a pulling teeth to get 100 choirs, you know, or 50 choirs to participate, or if this is going to be we're flooded with applications and we have to figure out how to make that work. But I think I'm not concerned. I really do think that we're going to have, at the very minimum, one performance in all 50 states. One other way that people could help is that we would love to have a sort of point person in each state that would be helpful in spreading the word to the choral community, colleagues that they know, people, you know, connections that they have. Jonah and I and Celia and Gary, we have connections in certain states with people we've worked with or met at different conferences and things, but we don't know people in every state.
Yeah.
But I know that I know somebody who does know somebody in another state, right?
That circle of connectivity.
Yeah. And so the more we can get just the word of mouth traveling, I think we're all looking for, you know, what's the catch? What's the small print? And there really isn't any. This is just honestly one of the most beautiful intentions that I've seen people do to put this much work and effort and time and passion into creating something just to give it away is really so beautiful and so rare. And so I'm very excited to help do what I can do to get this project off the ground and get it into as many choirs as we can.
It's a great story, like to hear where it's come from, like the two founders, and just I feel like that's a conversation that would happen in my house. Like we should do something for that,
Right.
and then just to see that one question and how it evolved to something as monumental as the Reformation anniversary at the Vatican to demonstrate the reconciliation. That in and of itself, whew, that just is beautiful.
And I think one of the reasons that became such a touch point for Celia and Gary is that they're Lutheran, and yet Gary, there's a picture of him shaking hands with the Pope, and the Pope actually said to him, "Gary, please pray for me." And I think that just really, you know, touched him to the core, because it was such a visceral demonstration of that coming together and
that reconciliation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And to see that this is not just like the first project, the second project, this is the third project, where it's not about the founders. If you look at the website, that's not what you see first.
Nope.
The first thing is the most important thing was united in harmony to renew democracy's promise. And it's just so cool to see what you are stretching for and reaching for. This makes so much sense.
Well, and education too. I mean, this is the podcast. This is Music Ed Matters.
It is. It does matter. It totally does.
It's kind of an educated endeavor too.
Very much. And I would like to see, I've done some projects in the past where a composer will do a commission for a high school choir, and then they'll include other curricula that can be used in the other courses at the same high school. So while the choir is doing this piece, they're also learning about that, you know, the context of the piece or the background of it in their history class or in their creative writing class or in their photography class or whatever the
Yeah, there's
tie-in is.
lots of cross
Mhm.
collaboration, cross curricular connections. The
Yes.
possibilities are endless. And it's so awesome that you guys are getting such a start on it now, knowing that there is still a few months of time before you need to start collecting
Yeah.
people and really getting the ball rolling with actives outside of your circle that's working on it.
Yes, indeed. And that's one of the other places where Celia and Gary excel is they, like I said, it's not just somebody that has the passion and the drive and the intention, but the ability to do all that follow through. It's a ton of work. It's a ton of
Hmm.
Yep.
planning. It's a lot of dreaming, a lot of planning, a lot of, you know, come to Jesus moments
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
what's really possible.
those
And
planning
I'll be the
things.
first person to tell you that they're retired, but they spend every
Every
second
waking minute.
thinking about
Hmm.
things like
That's
these.
so cool.
Yeah.
It
I,
is.
I feel like you guys have done such an awesome job of just like, I feel like I can define what Sing Democracy 250 is, why it
Oh, good.
exists, who it exists for, what all is involved in it. Have we covered all the bullet points that you are making sure we need to get out into the planet?
Good question.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is a good question. I think in general, I just want to make sure people know that if they can go to the website and sign up for the newsletter and stay connected, they will know everything that's coming and when
Right.
deadlines are and when the
Mhm.
application opens and all that kind of stuff. Um,
And
and
we'll
and
have
there's a
that
lot more.
information, like that information will be on the website
Yes.
Hmm.
as soon as we
Great.
have it set up. So,
So
Yeah.
that's the call to action. Go to the newsletter. So if you're
Yes.
listening to this
go to the
before, go to the
newsletter.
newsletter.
Yep.
Or maybe it's in the future. I'm talking to my future self right now.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it's in the future, and you or a colleague or a friend or another university, another school, another community group or church choir is like, hey, I'm doing this Sing Democracy 250 thing. Aren't you? And you like Google it and you find this. And now you're learning
Yes.
where it came from. Maybe future
Exactly.
selves are listening
That's
to
right.
this.
That's
Yeah.
right. And the other point I'd like to make is that one of our dreams is that the choirs themselves collaborate. I would love to see either an entire district, high school district, put their choirs together. For instance, in my kids' district, there are 4 high schools. So I'd love to see all of those high schools come
Hmm.
together and do one big performance of this
Yeah.
as a group. Another possibility would be incorporating a university choir or all the universities in an area doing it
Hmm.
together,
Mhm.
Or
or
a
even
university and all the high schools around, or
Right,
exactly
right.
that type
Oh
of
man,
thing.
doing.
A
so
whole
many.
We've
community.
Yes, we've also had thoughts of people doing this as their repertoire for an all-state choral performance in
Oh, yeah.
2026. So
Well,
we're
if I
hope.
get any
Mhm.
SATB 2026
Yeah,
All
yeah, yeah.
States after
Yes.
March 1st, I don't know if we've been booked out that far. I don't
Okay.
think I have any 2026 gigs yet, but if I get them, I'll let you know.
Please recommend this.
That
And
would be fun.
Absolutely.
exactly. And we will help you with whatever resources we can provide.
That's so
So
cool.
if
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
that's
just so
so
many
much fun.
possibilities.
Right.
Okay, we have answered a bajillion questions, and I
Okay.
want to flip back to the beginning, kind of take it full circle.
Mhm.
So, you both shared how you got to such an incredible project that you are obviously both so passionate about. I always let the guest say one thing that really matters. It can be related to this, it can be related to something that got you to this, it could be something that you want to see in the future. Who wants to go first, and what's the one thing that matters that you want the listener to walk away from this episode with?
Jonah, you go first.
Oh, it's been marinating in my brain for like 40 minutes, and I have a half-formed idea. I'll
Okay,
say
that's okay.
the first thing that comes
I'll
off my
finish it
head.
for you, Jonah.
Yeah, right.
Real collaboration there,
That's
friends. Real
right.
collaboration.
Yeah, I think for context, I'm 25 years old, so I've lived a quarter century in this country, and my ideas of American ideals, history, I could tell you every president and the date they were inaugurated, but those concepts are more fluid and they change with time. I think many different people feel very differently about where the country is today. And that's what matters to me is that people care. Really, I think I see it far too much in my generation specifically, where it is really hard sometimes to care about
Mhm.
things like being empowered to be involved in citizenship, in democracy, in voting, in standing up for things you're passionate about, that will make a difference. And to be, I mean, very honest, I would tune out myself if I, if I had the chance from time to time, because it's not always good news.
Mhm.
There's a lot out there that is scary. There's a lot out there that is unknown, and there's a lot of fear and isolation that we've
Mhm.
all come across at different points as Americans, whether you're a boomer or whether you're a Gen X or whether you're like me in that black hole between millennials and Gen Z. And what matters to me is that we are humans. We live in the society that is the United States today, and we, I want it to keep striving to be a more perfect union. That's really where it comes back to me. So
Mhm.
that's my answer.
Mhm. I love it. And using like music as a medium to
Yes,
allow those conversations, to
absolutely.
explore
Yes.
those thoughts, to bring people together, to not be so isolated or so scared of the unknown, but to give you the words or the experiences or the tunes with
Yeah.
which to talk through it.
If anyone out there has seen the documentary Choral Singing in America,
Hmm.
my favorite quote from that was the voice is the most democratic instrument. And it was just it really struck a chord with me. Margaret Clark, who's the Children's Choruses of DC director.
Mhm.
Just great quote. Very relevant to the current thing we're doing, but just in general, like
Yeah,
choral music literally brings audiences together, singers together.
Mhm.
There's nothing quite like it.
that's amazing.
And
Tina, you want to finish it?
to piggyback on that too, I truly believe that in all times and in all genres of life, artists are the ones that lead the way toward change, towards healing, towards reconciliation, towards collaboration. It's in the nature of everything that we do. And, a lot, I, how do I say this? I think this is just a prime example of that happening. We are artists that are working to help see this art come to life, written by artists that are putting out so much effort to creating something new with this intention.
Hmm.
And the singers and conductors and artistic directors are all artists that are going to be the ones giving it life and wings. And all of that speaks of the same principles that our country is founded on, which are listening, collaborating, compromising, and really trying to put forth the best of ourselves as individuals and as a collective. And so I can't think of a better tool to celebrate America's 250th birthday than choir music.
That is the best use of it. I love it. Y'all, I can't thank you enough for jumping on here, telling us all about Sing Democracy 250 and this fantastic project you're working on. I can't wait to watch it kind of roll out and see what happens. We'll have to touch
Yeah.
base as we get closer to.
Yes, we
We
want you
would
to be a part of
love
it too.
to.
Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
That'll
yes,
be
yes.
so
Yeah.
much fun. Well, I'll make sure to link the website in the episode notes. Everyone, you have a homework assignment. You are to stop listening to this and go straight to singdemocracy250.org and sign up for the newsletter. How did I do?
Great.
Wonderful.
Perfect. All right.
Ab
Thanks, you guys.
Thank
I would like it to be known that I have signed up for the newsletter. Have you signed up for the newsletter? Singdemocracy250.org. Jump over there and sign up for that newsletter so you can stay in the know as we explore how to renew democracy through the power of singing. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I'm so thankful that you're listening. If you want more musings each month, you can get a special bonus episode over at patreon.com/music that matters podcast. You can hit me up on the socials, whatever you need. I'm just really glad you're listening, and I hope that you're having a great day. And in case no one has told you today, my friend, You matter. We all know that music matters, especially Sing Democracy 250 and all the awesomeness that's about to come from that. And I'll see you next time on the Music Ed Matters podcast.